I'm very pleased to announce the coming into force today of Bill C-93, an act to provide no-cost, expedited pardons for simple possession of cannabis. Starting today, people who have a criminal record only for simple possession of cannabis can apply for a free, no-wait pardon using this expedited process, making it easier to work, go to school, travel, and actively participate in their communities. Dès aujourd'hui, les personnes avec un casier judiciaire pour la possession simple de cannabis peuvent faire une demande de pardon gratuite et sans période d'attente. Ce pardon les aidera à obtenir un emploi, à suivre des études, à voyager et à participer activement dans leur collectivité. Bill C-93 is the next logical step in a process that began during the last election campaign, when we committed to ending the prohibition of cannabis in Canada. The result of decades of prohibition had been that Canadians were among the heaviest and youngest users of cannabis in the world. Under the former system, the illegal cannabis trade put $7 billion annually into the pockets of organized crime. And Canadian law enforcement agencies spent over $2 billion a year, every year, trying to enforce an ineffective and counterproductive legal regime. Last October, we finally put an end to the old way of doing things, and cannabis is now legally and strictly regulated as promised. However, one of the lingering consequences of the previous system is that it saddled many Canadians with criminal records. And the people affected are disproportionately from minority communities. We promised to introduce legislation to provide pardons with no application fee and no wait time. Today, that commitment becomes a reality. À partir d'aujourd'hui, les personnes qui sont touchées de façon disproportionnée par les anciennes lois d'interdiction pour le cannabis, notamment les minorités visibles, les autochtones et les personnes qui vivent dans des quartiers vulnérables, peuvent faire, finalement, se débarrasser du fardeau et de la discrimination liée à un dossier criminel. Elles ont désormais la capacité de poursuivre une vie positive. Les personnes coupables de possession simple de cannabis peuvent faire une demande à la Commission des libérations conditionnelles pour un pardon avec un processus accéléré et simplifié. Les frais de $631 et les périodes d'attente associées aux autres demandes de pardon sont éliminés. Les demandeurs seront admissibles même s'ils ont des amendes impayées ou des suramendes compensatoires associées à leur condamnation. It is an unprecedented and exceptional step to eliminate the waiting period and the application fee for people seeking a pardon for cannabis possession. It means that instead of waiting 5 years and paying the parole board $631, applicants will no longer have to wait a single minute and will not owe the parole board a single cent. And as I stated earlier, we know that this is particularly significant for many in minority communities, including Black and Indigenous Canadians, who have been disproportionately affected by the enforcement of previous cannabis laws. Afin d'aider les demandeurs, la Commission des libérations conditionnelles du Canada a préparé une guide et formulaire de demande officielle pour la suspension du casier avec des instructions à suivre. De plus, la CLC a créé une ligne téléphonique gratuite et un courriel pour répondre aux questions. La CLC travaille avec leurs partenaires, y compris les services policiers, les tribunaux, les organisations communautaires et les professionnels de la justice criminelle, afin d'avoir le plus grand impact positif possible pour ce nouveau processus. To assist applicants, the Parole Board of Canada has a guide and formal request forms with instructions for those seeking a pardon. In addition, the PBC has a free phone line and email for those with questions. They are working closely with partners, including the police, courts, community organizations, and criminal justice professionals to ensure this new process reaches the most affected people possible. By applying for a no-fee, no-wait time pardon for cannabis possession, people can finally shed the burden and stigma of that criminal record and move forward positively with their lives. Donc, c'est tout pour l'annonce. Il me fera plaisir de prendre vos questions. I would be pleased to take your questions.
Bonjour, Monsieur le ministre. Yves Poirier de TVA. Monsieur le ministre, pourquoi avoir ciblé les gens donc condamnés pour possession simple? Pourquoi ne pas élargir ça aux gens qui font la culture également à domicile avant que la loi d'octobre entre en vigueur?
On a promis de régler le cas de la possession simple. C'est ce qu'on vient de faire. C'était une pratique assez acceptée. Maintenant, si on achète le cannabis comme il faut dans un magasin ou organisé par l'État, ce n'est plus un crime. Donc, on veut régler le cas dans le passé aussi, mais uniquement pour la possession simple.
Mr. Lametti, the NDP's been calling for a full expungement. Can you explain why the Liberals decided to do a pardon versus a full expungement of criminal records for simple possession?
Sure. Well, first of all, the practical effect of a pardon and expungement are virtually identical. And we have taken an unprecedented step with the no-fee, no-wait time pardon process. We're making it simple. Ultimately, we're reserving the expungement process for situations that would have been covered by the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. So in this case, we're moving with a process that's efficient, that takes into account also the fact that police agencies and the court system across Canada have different record-keeping procedures, and an application-based pardon process is one that will most quickly and most efficiently allow people to clear their record.
What about people who are still serving a sentence for possession? Are there actually people in Canada, as far as you know, who are serving any type of sentence for possession? Will they have to finish that sentence before they can be pardoned?
Yeah, to my understanding, no one's actually sitting in jail as a result of a conviction for possession of cannabis. That being said, there might still be some community service obligations or other things that were part of a sentence, and in that case, we're not going to interfere as a government with a sentence that's been duly imposed by a court. We wouldn't interfere in that regard, so those people have to finish their sentence. That being said, if the sentence is done, if the sentence has been completed, but there's still some sort of fine or a surcharge that has yet to be paid, those people will be able to apply for a pardon immediately.
Not pay the fine?
No, they'll be able to apply for the pardon. They'll get the pardon. The fine is with different agencies or other organizations, so that wouldn't be something that's covered in the application process with the RCMP.
What about the border? Technically, if you have a pardon, can a custom agent at the U.S. border still prevent you from entering the U.S.?
Any sovereign country has the right to control who goes in and who goes into their country. So that is, in a sense, beyond our control. What is within our control and what is important here is that the criminal record will no longer show up in any sort of verification on a database. So the Canadian databases, CPIC, won't show that criminal conviction anymore. And so that's usually what the American border agents will be checking. Now, if they, for some other reason, had some prior contact that a person may have had within their own database, within an American database, showing a conviction possession, that might still show up. But the current Canadian database moving forward will no longer show that criminal conviction.
And if you're convicted for another crime, does that pardon get erased? Can we talk about that?
I'll leave that to Minister Goodales. What we are doing here is simply the pardon process for simple cannabis possession, and not for other crimes.
Vanessa Lee with CPD. How many Canadians are we talking about here, and is the pardon instantaneous once this application is done?
The pardon, to my understanding, is almost instantaneous. There are no criteria other than simple possession and having completed the sentence. So it will take a few weeks to get it done, whereas before it would take a few months. So this is an unprecedented thing. For the reasons that I've just raised a minute ago, the record keeping across Canada not being uniform through different provinces and police services, we're not quite sure. We think that there may be upwards of 250,000 people who have, in some way, shape, or form, some kind of cannabis possession conviction. We're hoping, by expediting this process, to make the number of people who have access to the pardon reach into the thousands. But it will never get up to that point. Some of those people have died, etc. So because the record keeping is non-uniform, we don't actually have the answer. This is what our best prediction is.